Okay, so we want to learn how to interface a motion sensor to Raspberry Pi 4. So as you can see, this is a motion sensor. Removing the cap, you can tell the position of the VCC on the ground. You can see it here. This is ground, out the VCC. So I'm going to return the cap. So let's begin. So the first thing we're going to do is how does the motion sensor work? Try to understand how it works. So the motion sensor, whenever it detects human motion, it gives out an output at the middle end here, which is the output. It gives out a 3.3 volt output here. When motion is not being detected, the output here will be at 0. Now, when you look at this other end of the motion sensor, you can see two resistors here. This is to vary the time at which it's going to, that's the sensitivity, while this is going to be used to vary how long it stays whenever it detects a motion. So let's begin. We are going to need some few components like the LED, the resistor, our Raspberry Pi, our breadboard, this to be able to interface this to it. Okay. So let's look at the diagram, the circuit diagram between the Raspberry Pi and our motion sensor. So this is a diagram here. This goes to ground. The first one is ground here. It goes to ground. The middle here is an output. The output goes to this GPIO pin here, while this VCC goes to our 5 volts. Our LED, of course, will continue to be at GPIO 14 here, while the output of our motion sensor goes directly to, let's look at it here, goes directly to GPIO 23 here. You can see that immediately after the second ground, after the first ground, the second ground, you have it here. So that's it here. This is the first ground, this is second ground, and this is it. So let's now look at how we can write a program that will do this. First of all, we know that this is going to be an input pin. This is going to be an input pin here. So we are using GPIO 23, so I'm going to change this to 23. So because the output of the motion sensor toggles between high and a low, we do not need a pull-up anymore. So I'm going to remove this pull-up here. Okay, what I'm going to do is, let me create a new project here. Just copy this code here. So I copy it and then I paste it here. So that's the code here, 23. So we're going to remove our pull-up. We don't need it. We no longer need the internal pull-up. So the moment it detects, the moment it reads the value of the input pin, if it is false, means that if it is 0, it gives out an output here at pin 14. So we don't really need this anymore. We can decide to still leave it if we want. So else is going to give out a 0 here. As simple as that. So the question is, when do we want the LED to come on? We want it to come on when it detects motion, and that's when this is going to be true. So I'm going to change it to true. Then so when it's true, the output of the LED becomes true, else it becomes false. That's it. So let's make our connection on our circuit diagram right now. So first of all, we are going to connect our LED. So our LED, I'm going to bring a ground. So this is a ground. I'll take it to my LED, the resistor. Then the other end is our GPIO 14, which is the fourth pin here. Then the other thing to connect right now is our sensor. So the ground pin goes to this point here. That's where the ground pin goes to. Then our output goes to this other end that follows it. Then the last thing to connect is our 5 volts. So we're going to put it at 5 volts. And that's it. So we don't really need much connection to do here. So our motion sensor is currently connected, but the LED is still off. So let's run our script and see what happens. They want us to save, so I'm going to save with motion.path. So currently our script is running. So I'm going to move so you can see the text motion comes on. So I move away, it goes off. I move close, it comes on. So it's responding as we want it to respond. So I go close again, it comes on. So motion sensor is really responding. It's responding excellently well. So I'm going to disconnect it. So I think this is clear. This is how to interface a motion sensor to a Raspberry Pi.